Hi, welcome to my channel, Cooking with Connie and more. And we are going to finish the carrot cake recipe that I started earlier. I made the carrot cake from an old family recipe, and now we're going to do the cream cheese frosting that goes with it. And I have this recipe in the cookbook that I made. It's a family cookbook. I don't have these for sale. Some days I would like to create another cookbook that I could make available to the public, but for now I'm going to use my family cookbook that I wrote several years ago. The first thing I'm going to do here is finish cutting up chopping my pecans. I already have most of them done, but I needed to do a few more. Now I do have one of those little handy food choppers that I have used at times, but for my carrot cake, for the icing, I prefer to do the chopping manually because I like more coarse cut and not so much powder that you get when you use the little handy chopper. Although, as its name says, it is certainly handy. And I want a cup of pecans, or at least close to a cup. It does not have to be an exact measurement. So there are my pecans for this cream cheese frosting for the carrot cake. I'll set that aside for now and get this out of the way. Now, according to the instructions, we are going to use an 8-ounce package of cream cheese, 2/3 stick of butter, 1 pound of powdered sugar, 1 cup of chopped nuts, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Now, I have already put the cream cheese in my mixing bowl. And the first thing we're going to do is cream together the cream cheese and the butter and make that creamy smooth before we add any of the other ingredients. So let's get that going here. I'm going to start it down a little slow, and then I'm going to really whip it. I do have a whipping attachment for my mixer, but that's not really necessary to get that out because this will go fast enough to get it creamy smooth. Now I'm going to scrape down the sides here to help prevent having lumps in this. Now, according to the instructions, the cream cheese and the butter need to be softened to room temperature. And if you have forgotten to get these things out to soften, you can soften them in the microwave, but be careful because you don't want to melt it. You don't want it to be melted. Okay, I'm going to let that go, get it whipped real nicely. And now we're going to add some of the powdered sugar. And let me scrape this off a little bit. Now, I have a funny little trick that I do. If I have powdered sugar in a 2-pound bag, which is what I have here, take a look at that. And I only want to use 1 pound. So I have wrapped a rubber band around it and tried to get it pretty much in the middle so that I can use half of it, which would be 1 pound. So I'm going to try to let half of this escape the bag while keeping the other half in the bag. I'm going to cut this about halfway across the top here and let some of that. You don't want to put all of the powdered sugar in at once because then when you start the mixer, it will fly everywhere. And that's not what we want to have happen. Okay, I'm going to fold a little bit of this down over that powder. I'm making a mess here. And trust me, it won't be the first time. And put that on low and let that blend. And let that blend real well. And I'm going to gradually put in the rest of this sugar. Let's add a little bit more of the sugar now. Like I said, we can't add very much at a time because then the sugar will fly everywhere. And it's a little bit awkward to do it this way with the 2-pound bag, but that's what I have on hand. It's generally more cost effective to buy the sugar in a 2-pound bag. If I had just a 1-pound box, that would make it a little easier. But this is what I have on hand right now. So let's just do this. Okay, I'm going to blend that real well. And I'm going to scrape down the sides of the bowl here so we don't have a lot of dry powdered sugar. There's dry powdered sugar stuck on the bottom. I'm going to get that unstuck so it will blend in with the rest of my cake frosting. Let's add some more. I'm going to try to add the rest of this. Here we go. Now that's a lot, so I don't want, you can see that cloud of powdered sugar coming up there. Sometimes I'll start and stop till it gets pretty blended. There we go. Now at this point, I'm going to add my vanilla and salt. Anywhere from a dash of salt to about a 1/4 cup of salt. I didn't mean to say 1/4 cup. From a dash of salt to about a quarter teaspoon of salt is great. And you may have heard me say before, as my mother always has told me, always add salt when you're mixing something sweet because it's a flavor enhancer and it will enhance the flavor. Now, let's put in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. I do not like to use imitation vanilla. I think vanilla extract will give you a better flavor. If you use imitation vanilla, that's fine. That's certainly an option. But I like to use the extract. That way, I don't have that imitation flavor. So I have just added in my salt and my vanilla flavoring. I'm going to let that blend real well. I want that to whip up and be nice and smooth. I'm going to scrape down the sides of my bowl. I've got some dry powdered sugar up on the sides of my bowl here in places. Make sure I don't have any down in the bottom of the mixing bowl. And I believe I'm ready to add the pecans. So I'm going to add about half of those in and blend that in. And now I'm going to just go ahead and add the rest and blend that in. I do have a certain family member. When I make this cake for her, I will generally not put the pecans in because she does not like nuts, and that's okay. We each have our own likes and dislikes. Okay, I'm going to take that out. Let that swirl a little bit of that off of there. Oh boy, this is going to be so good. Look at that beautiful cream cheese cake icing. And of course I've made this cake icing, this very recipe, and used it on things like pumpkin cake or pumpkin bread. When my grandson and I make whoopie pies, we make pumpkin whoopie pies, and I use my cream cheese recipe to make the icing on the inside of those. And there is our cream cheese icing, or frosting, if you like to call it frosting, for our carrot cake. Now, let's start applying the wonderful cake icing. So I have my first layer of the cake here. Whoops, I need something to spread that with. I thought I had everything over here, but I didn't have this. So here we go. I will spread this around and put a little more on here. And spread that around. Now I can't put a real thick layer of icing because I'll run out before it's all done. Now if you want, you can make extra icing and have your icing thicker. I've done that before, but I usually just make it according to the recipe, and that works out fine. Now I'm going to put the other layers on. I'm going to stop the video and I'm going to pause it and then start it back up again here in just a few minutes, so that you don't have to be bored watching this process for several minutes. So I'm ready for my second layer now, and I have both of those other two layers over here, and we'll get those going too here in a second. Okay, let's finish this up. I have all three layers stacked on there, and I'm going to put the rest of the cake frosting on there. I got a different spreader. The one I got the first time was too short to suit me. I am not a professional cake person, and I do not make decorated cakes. I have done that from time to time, just simple. They're usually pretty crude, simple for birthdays or what have you. But I enjoy making cakes like this. I have a wonderful blueberry cake recipe. I'll try to do that sometime on my YouTube channel with fresh blueberries. And now I'm going to try to pull some of this from the top, about to lose some over there, down onto the sides of the cake. You may have noticed I have this on a pretty glass cake stand. I inherited this, and I really don't know how old it is. I inherited it from an elderly friend, and it's pretty special. So because it's so special, when I do a birthday cake, I like to put it on there. It makes a nice presentation. And I'm going to just try to I will end up with a fairly thin spread of this around the sides. In fact, I have made this carrot cake at times and only put the icing in between the layers, which works just fine. I like it better when it's iced all the way down the sides, but honestly, that's not completely necessary. It's still a delicious cake. I'm not trying to cover that bottom layer very carefully because I'm running out of cake icing. And that's common with this cake. And I probably could have put a little bit less in between the layers along the way, because it can work. I've done it, my goodness, many times. I don't even know how many times. This is a cake that I pretty much always make for Christmas. And then, like I said, certain family members like to have it for their birthday cake. And I try to accommodate that for my special loved ones. All of my family members are special to me. We have 8 grandchildren. They're teens and early 20s now. This cake is for our grandson, who is actually in his first year at VMI. VMI is Virginia Military Institute in Lexington, Virginia. And it's a tough place. So he deserves whatever cake he wants for his birthday. He'll be in this weekend. We're all excited about that. We're going to celebrate that young man's birthday. He will be a whopping 19 years old. He's studying engineering. Yeah, he's a lot smarter than I am. So I'm going to stop there. Here you go. I'd like to, let me just do this so you can see the cake better. So there is the carrot cake. A lot of people in the family and some friends call this the best carrot cake in the world. I'll tell you what, I've gotten carrot cake from time to time from bakeries and this, that, and the other, just to see how they rate with this one, and I have never had one that is any better than this. I've had some good ones, and most of them really don't hold a candle to this one. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you will make this carrot cake. I would love for you to share your own carrot cake recipe in the comments if you have one. And in the meantime, God bless you.